everybody, it is Julie. Welcome back to Pages and Pens. Today I am here for some tea on BEA and BookCon, but also for Sips By unboxing for June. So I'm going to get into this and see what kind of teas I got this month in my monthly subscription service. You guys know I am a tea aficionado. I really enjoy it. I drink it all the dang time. Last month I fell in love with their cinnamon tea. It was fantastic. This month I'm really excited to see what I get. I have my steaming mug of water right here. I'm going to try not to spill it on my computer. And I'm going to make a tea and we're going to sit and we're going to talk about BookCon and BEA because I have thoughts and feelings and tips and tricks for you guys. So this one is my June teas made for Julie. I love how personalized all this is. So we get summer's nearly here, and whether you're taking iced teas to a picnic with friends or enjoying a warm cup of tea on a cool summer night, we'd love to see how your Sips By box fits into your seasonal routine. It's not even 10 o'clock on a Sunday, so I might do something with caffeine. I don't know how I feel. We're going to get into this and see what kind of teas they gave me. First up, we have some Davidson Organic Tropical Green Tea, light and flavorful, and they do give you 4 of each. So in here, after you take your little quiz with your flavor profiles and preferences, they give you some teas. This one is low caffeine, perfect tea for welcome warmer weather, light and bright, refreshing tropical fruit citrus flavors. Enjoy iced or hot. Then we have a stress-free tea, which is cinnamon, which I love the cinnamon, so you know that one's going to be just fine. Where's the other one? I know there's a bag of it somewhere. So this one is by Traditional Medicinals, created by Herbalist. It's organic, stress-free, relieves tension, promotes relaxation, naturally caffeine-free herbal tea. Organic skullcap, cinnamon bark, and licorice root. Not a big fan of the licorice. Herbal happy hour because it reminds us to unwind and helps bring our bodies back to balance from Traditional Medicinals. So this one's not going to be the one I go with. This one is completely caffeine-free. And I just don't know that I'm feeling that one right now. It'll be a nice nighttime one because I do enjoy the cinnamon. Then we have a couple of loose teas, and then as always, they provide you little bags that you can put your tea into, and they're like one-time use. Pull the little drawstring to close it after you put your loose leaf in this, and then you can use this if you don't have a strainer ball, which I don't have in my bedroom right now. First up, I have a Full Leaf Tea Co. Organic Kingston Earl Grey, an aromatic blend of black tea, bergamot, and grapefruit. Ooh, I do love a grapefruit. This one is high caffeine. Bergamot and grapefruit are stars of this exceptional blend that tastes great along with bold citrus flavors for a delicious and refreshing cup. I might do this one. And also, they always have codes for discounts if you want to get more of these teas after you fall in love with them, which I definitely have. I've tried more from that other box, and they're so good. The loose ones are really, really good. This one is Organic Assam Black Tea. It is from India. This one is a high caffeine. The tropical climate and heavy rainfall in the Assam region of India, where this tea is grown, contributes to the brisk malty flavor. Enjoy pure or with milk and sweetener. All right, doesn't give me much by way of like flavor profiles. So this might be a when I'm feeling more like adventurous. We're going to try this Earl Grey because I'm down for some grapefruit. So while I get this ready to serve up, I want to talk about BookCon and BEA. That's why we're here. And first up, I want you to know these videos are not intentionally clickbaity, but there's not really actually tea to spill. I am currently editing my vlog for BEA and BookCon, which is a bit of a hot mess. I really had a great time and I want to share it with you. I definitely have some thoughts, some takeaways, some advice, and some general overarching thoughts about the events that I want to discuss here with you guys so that you guys get a good feel for what the event's actually like if you weren't there, or maybe use it for advice the next time it rolls around if you're thinking about going. Oh my gosh, this smells amazing. 1 to 2 teaspoons per 8 to 12 ounces of water. This is a giant mug, so I'm going to use 2 teaspoons and put them into this. It's going to be off camera just because I need to not be spilling everywhere, but I got my spoon, I got my bag of tea, and that was a pretty heaping teaspoon, so I'm just going to do one more, like half one. just a little halfer right into my bag as well. And then you simply cinch this bag up and drop it into my water, which is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna set a timer on here, and then we're gonna talk while that steeps. First of all, I did get approved for a media press pass for BEA and BookCon, which essentially means that I did not pay for either BEA or BookCon. BEA in and of itself is an industry event. It is publishers, authors, it is librarians, booksellers, and then media/press are the main categories of people that go. Even if you wanted to go as an author or a bookseller, you need to be approved. So this is not something the general public can buy their way into. There are some passes that you do have to still purchase as a blogger, as an author. You have to purchase your tickets to go, but then you get access to the showroom floor and all of the arcs. You guys have already seen my haul. You know I came away with a lot. So I applied for a media/press badge just because of my general influence as a booktuber, and I was approved, very, very thankfully. Last year I only did BookCon, so I had no experience with BEA, and I had no idea what it was actually going to look like, but I had heard that the books were a lot more easy to acquire, because at BookCon they were very hard to acquire, and I had also heard that in general, it was a much more laid-back vibe. It was a lot less populated, and the publishers are really there to give you your book as opposed to trying to make you jump through hoops for it like they do at BookCon. So I was pretty excited for it. I was really excited to go spend a little bit of extra time in New York to see friends. This year there was definitely a heavier booktuber presence than last year. I was able to see and meet and talk to a lot more people this year as opposed to last year. In that sense, it was phenomenal. But I do want to walk you through a little bit of the process of what BEA looks like. So this was the first year that the showroom floor was open, the first day that BEA opened. So BEA started on Wednesday, and at, I think, 9 o'clock you could get in to get your press badge, to get all of your information, and then you could line up. And basically you would line up, and at noon the doors to the showroom floor opened and you could go explore, go to the publishing booths, grab arcs, etc. This day in particular they had decided to open up BEA with a Libradugo drop. So the Ninth House had limited quantities of copies, which I'm sure you've heard about at this point, and they basically said at noon, you have to come to the table at Macmillan and get a ticket. And if you have a ticket, you're guaranteed an ARC and a signing for a 3 o'clock time slot. But you have to be there at noon to pick up the ticket. Well, the doors open at noon, so that means at noon when the doors open, everybody wants to go right there and get this ticket because there's only 100 of them. So we get there early to line up. The lineup basically was just a line of people, and they were sitting on the floor. We tried to wind so that we were out of people's way. But we were sitting on the floor, eating breakfast, hanging out, talking, getting to know one another, catching up, seeing new faces, seeing old faces. And then security kind of went, hey, we need everybody to just fill this general space. So everybody who had been organized in a line was then moved up into like a larger area, and they basically just said, go fill up this entire space. We moved up. We weren't far. We were probably like 30 people back in line. We moved up towards the front of the line because we filled in extra space. We were told when we got up there, like, why are you here? I'm like, that man just told us to fill in all of this space because we were spreading out too far towards the back. And they're like, well, he was wrong. At that point, there's no way to go backwards. So we're basically sitting there for three-ish hours waiting to get into this line. And they said, listen, everybody's going to get in. Nobody needs to panic. Nobody rush, da-da-da. They were letting anybody with an exhibitor pass go through onto the showroom floor, and then they let in a couple people that had like medical issues, either casts or wheelchairs, crutches, etc. They let them go out early, and then they waited until noon to open the line. And they basically just said, please no running, everybody, be respectful, the books are still going to be there, just take your time. And so the front of the line starts moving, and I'm not that far back, so I start moving, and then you hear a scream, and the security guard screams, and people from the back of the line had just lifted up the hook on the, like, retractable barriers, because it wasn't, like, a strong barrier, it was just, like, those retractable ropes. They had just lifted it up, and everybody from the back of the line had started running onto the showroom floor. Oh, there's my timer. Essentially, all that waiting in line was for naught because those people went running. Now, if you saw my Instagram stories, you know that I was nursing an injured heel. I like stubbed my toe and like tripped forward and not fallen, but like caught myself funny and strained the muscle on the back of my heel. I was not running. I moved as quickly as I could to the Lee Bardugo line safely, being yelled at and like mocked by people. People were telling us like, you're being unsafe, stop running, stop da-da-da. And then like guys were walking by and they're like, you know, like made some joke like about like, oh, I guess you really want that book, don't you? And there was a lot of like general chaos. It was 100% unsafe. People were rushing through the aisles. There was already people on the showroom floor that were walking, and it was 1000% not handled correctly. I think that opening up the event with that ticketing and not having appropriate security, the amount of security that they needed, appropriate barriers, appropriate lines in place, not anticipating how sought after that book was a dangerous oversight. And it's one that I had seen repeated at BookCon the year prior when they dropped Prior the Orange Tree and they moved lines and they would move people around. People that had been waiting were then like pushed into different spaces and they lost their place in line. So that led to people running and rushing. Things can definitely be handled better. There's so much room for improvement when it comes to the overall safety and the way that these things are run. But I also want to say that I understand the appeal of a limited arc and the buzz and the hype that that creates around a book, but it's straight up irresponsible and unsafe for publishers to do stuff like that in that space, you know? And at the end of the day, I didn't get the book. Do I care? Not particularly, but I just felt like it was a really crappy way to start the event and a really unsafe one. So there's my spiel on that. But then after that, you walk around and there's just books galore. So I walked from there over to go get my copy of Winterwood, which was just stacked up on the floor. You can just pick it up and go. Then there's a couple different ways that you can get ARCs. There's sometimes where there's just drops and they're just sitting on the side of the publisher's tables and you can go up and grab one. Sometimes they scan your badge, sometimes they don't. There were graphic novel booths where you could just go up and grab them, talk to them about what you were interested in, and they would give it to you. You could take what you were interested in, leave what you weren't. There were indie authors that were sitting there with their booths and their books trying to sell you on them, trying to get you to pick them up, again, for free. And then there were publishers that had signs up that said, this hour, these are the 6 books that we're giving out. Let us know which one you're interested in, and they just hand it to you. Then there were other times where it was, at this time, this author will be here with this many copies of the book. You go, you line up, you get a copy of that book, you meet the author, you get it signed. There weren't ticketed events at that, the way that there were at BookCon that you had to sign up for in advance, but you would have to get there in the morning, grab a ticket so that you could then go and get a signing later, or stand in line and they would hand you out a ticket, or stand in line and you would move through a signing area. It was pretty calm, pretty straightforward. The ones that were really sought after and really highly anticipated, you'd have to wait in a line. But there were other times where you could just walk up and that book was being given out. I mentioned it in my haul, but Stephen Chbosky's book was really sought after and people were waiting in line for it. And the next day they were just giving out copies. Because BookCon is run so differently, they're not giving away ARCs the way that they do at BEA. These publishers didn't want to go home with these books, so they really were giving them out. It also was really refreshing to then go up to these booths and say, hey, I saw people that had an ARC, say, of The Lady Rogue by Jen Bennett, which is her new fantasy that's coming out that I'm really interested in. I went over to her publisher. I don't know if you have any more of those books, if there's going to be a drop, but I didn't get a copy of the book. I'm really excited for it. I've read her other books. I've reviewed her other books. I really enjoy her writing style, and I'm really excited for this book. Do you have a business card? Let me scan your badge. Yes, yes. And then she took my business card, wrote on the back of there, Lady Rogue. You also get something at the end of the week that says, here's the exhibitors that scanned your badge. Here's contact information for each publishing house that scanned your badge, so that you have a contact at that publishing house. Let them know if you need anything from them. I've had multiple people reach out to me. Thank you for stopping by my booth. Was there anything that you were interested in from our publishing that you didn't get? We'll send it your way gladly. The answer to some of those were yes, and I'm able to now have those books coming to me. So it really is an acknowledgement of the influence that booktubers can have in the publishing industry, and a little bit of respect and appreciation for this book is getting into a hand that is going to then help us sell the book, so they're giving it to you. They're not making you jump through hoops. They're not making you work for it. We want you to have this book. We want you to talk about it. Here's the book. In that sense, it was really, really great. I will say there are people that were selling spreadsheets. There were people that were really obsessed with like meticulously timing stuff out. That is definitely helpful, but then there's also got to be room for a little bit of spontaneity, because sometimes an arc that you wanted later in the day drops earlier in the day. You've got to leave something to go get to that. I've mentioned it in my vlog, but I don't know if at this point if the vlog is up yet. If it is, I'll link it up above. But we had a spreadsheet. We went through all the authors that were going to be there at in-booth signings, table signings, drops that we knew of. And we had a timetable of here's what's happening at each time. And then this was something that Amber and I just worked on, going through the BookCon and Book Expo apps to see what was happening at what times, what panels were happening at what times. And we would kind of mark out in colors. Here's our top priority for this time slot. Here's the book we really, really want. If we get this early or something happens and we can't get this book, we'll move on to this second option for this time slot and a third option for this time slot. That's kind of how we ran the entire week. We're able to get almost everything that we were really interested in. And then we also left ourselves room for books that our friends were interested in that we were then able to attain, and books that were surprise drops there that we were then able to attain. I'm going to take this bag out and I'm going to reuse this. You can reuse your bags, guys, like more than once, especially with this much loose leaf. There's no reason not to let this dry and then use it again. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Let's see how this goes. I don't want to burn my mouth off. Oh, that's really nice. You definitely get that classic like Earl Grey taste, but the grapefruit is absolutely there. Yeah, that's like really bright and citrusy. Yeah, that's really nice. This is one that I might sweeten up a little bit. That cinnamon one from last month, I didn't have to. And there was actually the like more orangey loose leaf from that one I didn't have to sweeten up, but this one might do with like a little bit of honey. But that tastes really nice. I mean, it's definitely drinkable without it. The downtime in the lines actually was a great opportunity to sit and talk to people, to meet the people that were in line around you. It was a lot more relaxed. There's less people, there's less chaos. I will say I did not get over to the vendor section of the BEA floor at all. Not once. I really used that time for BookCon. I went over and did that because the showroom floor was a lot more chaotic. So I went over to the vendor side for actual BookCon. Let's see, what else do I have to say? Use a rolling bag. So many people kind of like laughed and were like, really? You bought like a rolling bag? Didn't think it was probably going to be necessary. Holy crap, was it? I brought it day 1, day 2, day 3. I did not bring it to BookCon day 1, and I probably could have because I actually got a decent amount of books BookCon day 1. But, I mean, it was so many books. So many more than I could have carried, even though we lived really close. Like, our Airbnb was really, really close to the Javits. There's no way I was walking those books anywhere. It would have killed my back. They were so chunky. Like, you guys saw, like, this shelf down here that I'm not going to pan my camera to. I brought home 50 books and graphic novels. There's no way you're carrying that home at the end of the day. So, bring a rolling bag. It was, the first day, it was $4 to check it. The second day, it was also $4 to check the bag. And then you could check in throughout the day, give them your ticket, get your bag, fill it up with your books, hand the ticket back, hand your bag back, and then do that. I will say, the women that were working there were amazing and very, very sweet, but they were definitely overworked and stressed out. Day 3 of BEA, it was $4 to check your bag and $2 every time you wanted to check in to fill it. I don't blame them for doing that. Honestly, it was so labor intensive for these women to continue to drag these suitcases in and out, and a lot of the times there was only one woman working at the desk, and a lot of people coming at certain times of the day rushing to try to get these books in. So I completely understand. Is it a money grab? Not really. They probably had to bring on extra staff. There was a lot of people there at certain times trying to get their bags, and it just wasn't feasible for one woman. Which brings me to a natural segue to another topic that I want to discuss about BEA and BookCon. And that is, because I had this schedule of all the things I wanted to see, all the things I wanted to do, authors that I wanted to meet, etc. Sorry guys, my camera overheated, which it does a lot. So as I was saying, one of the things that I think as I sit here with my tea definitely gets overlooked at BookCon and BEA is self-care. It's self-care in a lot of different ways. So first up, I will say I did not drink enough water while I was there. One of the reasons I didn't drink enough water while I was there is because the bathroom situation isn't ideal. They do their absolute best, but there's a lot of people and fewer bathrooms. I will say that they did make the men's room during BookCon and BEA a gender neutral bathroom, so you could go in there regardless of how you identified if you needed to use it. Lots of women were going in there and using it because the women's line wrapped outside of the bathroom all of the time. So a lot of women were going into the stalls in the men's room. The bathrooms were open to all genders and any way you identified, and I understand that. I just wanted it to be a safe space for people that really needed it. So I tried not to use it. There was once I just had to use it. I didn't, there was no choice. They do have multiple floors in the Javits, and there are multiple bathrooms on each floor, but they're not really spaced out in a way that they're convenient to get to sometimes. Again, it takes you out of a line. A lot of the times you would settle in a line, put your stuff down with friends, and then run to the bathroom, and everybody would take their turns and then come back to the line when you had a longer line to sit in. But yeah, so I definitely didn't drink enough water at all. I was underhydrated the entire time, and that sucked. I drink a lot of water. So when I'm underhydrated, I feel really crappy, and your body's already sore because the Javits is basically just cement concrete floors with thin ass like throw down carpet on top of it. There's certain areas that are cushioned, usually up at the front in like the larger publishing house areas. That like feels like walking on a cloud. But for the most part, you're sitting, standing, walking, and just generally living on concrete, and it's hard on your body. You just felt achy, especially when you're underhydrated. Second of all, eating. I never stopped to eat. I did get better about packing snacks the second couple of days, but in general, I'm just like, I don't have time to go sit downstairs and eat. I don't have time to wait in the line for food, pay a shit ton of money for food, find seating, which was always hard to do when you went down to eat. It was just difficult to balance out time to go and eat when you knew you had XYZ coming up and you really didn't have enough time to budget to get down there, get the food, eat the food, you know, find somewhere to sit. I wasn't good about taking care of myself and drinking and eating enough at all. So I was basically living on like a bottle of water that I brought in, pretzel rods that I brought in, and Motrin because my body hurt. That's difficult. I would definitely say pack snacks, pack water. They let you bring stuff in. So do that to just kind of like keep yourself going because self-care in that way when you're there can be really difficult. Also, just practicing self-care when it comes to taking a break or leaving. I got a little bit better about that. I don't think I stayed till close any of the days because I just went, I have what I want. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm done. I'm peopled out. I have to listen to my body and listen to my like mental health and just go back to the Airbnb for the day. It also gets difficult at night because people are doing things. You want to see people. You don't see them all the time. You feel guilty just staying in. But I definitely stayed in multiple nights. I stayed in Wednesday night, Thursday night, and then Friday night went out to the bar night. But I didn't go out Saturday night either. Oh, Saturday night I went to the musical, which was awesome. But in general, be aware of how you're feeling. If you need to take a step back, move into an unpopulated corner, go stand with a friend and decompress for a little bit. It's a lot. It's a lot of people. It was a lot of peers and a lot of other creators that I was meeting, which felt very safe. Okay for me personally. I did okay with that. There's a common bond there where I didn't have to feel too uncomfortable talking to those people, but especially during BEA and the Saturday, Sunday, there were a lot of people coming up that watched my channel or knew me, but I didn't know them, and that is always a unique experience that I feel like I need to give them more because I want to give them the best of me, even though I was bone tired those 2 days. And then we had people that came to the bar meetup to meet me, which was really cool, that weren't creators. They just came to say hey, which is amazing and awesome, and I loved every part of that. But there's a lot of extrovert activities that take place during BEA and BookCon, which is not my norm and it's not my comfort. And I'm sitting here over a week later and I'm still trying to recover just like on my own in my like mental, emotional stores, like getting that back again. It took a lot out of me. Like I was not just body tired, I was just brain and mind tired. So keep that in mind when you're going. A lot of people have asked, is it worth it? Again, I got to go for free, but if you add up the like monetary value of the books that I walked away with that I'm genuinely excited for, yes, absolutely. Even if you get approved and you have to pay, I think it's monetarily worth it. But it's only going to be monetarily worth it if you're going there and you really want to get books, or you're okay with paying the money to go and socialize. Either way, totally fine, totally valid. People definitely go with different game plans. I went wanting the books, but there's plenty of people that go and they don't really make that a priority, and that's fine too. I only made it to one panel. I will say, you're not going to be able to go to every signing. You're not going to be able to get every book you want and go to every panel you want. It's just not feasible. Too much happens at the same time. There was a panel that I was really, really interested in, but it was the same time as the future of the online book community panel that Spencer was on. Obviously was going to that. So I missed another panel that I was interested in to go to that. And you just have to like make your schedules and weigh your pros and cons. That's my best advice and like tea for you. I will say as well, just to touch on like the social aspect of it, because we talked about that a lot. This year, I felt like it was the most comfortable I've been in large social situations in a really long time. I didn't feel uncomfortable if like the group that I went with went off on their own, because there was another group there was another person there was another face there that I knew. So if they went one way to one signing, I could go stand in another line for another signing and find a smiling face or somebody that I knew or somebody that I could talk to in that line or at that event, as opposed to like last year where I was like, if you leave me, I will unfriend you. I'm terrified, don't leave me alone. This year it was like, I'm cool, you go do you. I'm gonna stand over here with these people, talk to these people, do this thing. This is my line, this is where I'm gonna be if you need to find me. It was a lot more like split, not in a bad way, not in like a, I'm not friends with that person anymore way, but just like, I barely saw Chelsea. She was off doing other things. She was in contemporary lines when I was in a fantasy line. Every now and then we would meet up. Natasha spent hours over in the Joe Hill line and then meeting Joe Hill while I was waiting for S.K. Ali to be off with Amber or Jamie or with Madison. Chandler ran up to me in line at one point. It was just like, I don't know why I'm here. I saw you in line and I figured this might be a book that I like. And I'm like, it might be, let's do this. A lot more like weaving in and out, at least for me personally. I felt really, really comfortable. I knew no matter where I went, there was going to be a face I knew, somebody I could talk to. I wasn't going to feel alone. I wasn't going to feel like adrift in the larger sea of things. And I felt very at home in that space. So that felt really nice. I will say that vibe changed for me a little bit at BookCon, because the crowd was so intense that finding those people, even though they were there, was a lot harder because the crowd in general was just so much broader. So I will say I was a lot more socially comfortable at BEA because the crowd was thinner and I could like very clearly be like, there's my people, there's my people, there's my people, there's my people. I'm going this way with them. I think my biggest social struggle was just trying to find time to like get FaceTime with everybody. There were people there that I saw that I did not talk to enough, that I did not speak to the way that I wanted to. I saw the brunette bibliophile, Chloe, and I did not get to talk to her. I did not get to talk to Rocky. I did not get to talk to Rhiannon the way that I wanted to. There were definitely people there. Michaela, there was a ton of people there that I saw, and it was just like, I see you, but I'm running to this line, or I see you, but I'm like in the middle of this thing, and I just never got a chance to connect with them, which is sucky, because when are we going to all be there again like that? That was my biggest struggle, was like, I see you and I want to talk to you, but oh my gosh, this thing is happening, or this is going on, or I'm feeling a little overwhelmed right now, and I just can't put that effort forward right now because like I'm in my own head. So that was kind of my biggest issue. It was never, I don't have somebody to talk to or a place to feel at home. It was more like, I want to talk to you, but I've got, things are happening. Everybody having their own schedule, like I said, and their own things to do, and finding time to fit in, like, connection time. So yeah, that was like my big thing this year. This tea is real good, but I'm getting steamy. And then I legitimately went and spent like BookCon, going to vendors and getting FaceTime with companies that I've worked with in the past, companies that I'm interested in working with, going back to publishers and saying, hey, can you, keep me in mind for XYZ books, making connections, giving out business cards, and treating it like the networking event that it can be if you want it to be, and also buying a ton of enamel pins. I got myself a jean jacket. I'm putting some pins on it, which I just have really been enjoying. What did I do? Like Colorful Geek, I got, let me show you the pins that I got. A couple are on my jacket. I did take the booktuber pin that I got from Kate. I took that off my jacket. That was on my jacket for the entirety of the weekend for BookCon, but when I went back to work and I wore my jacket, I was like, I don't need them to know that I do booktube, because it's a new family I nanny for. The other ones I think new, but I'm not ready to broach that subject. I got I Myself Am Strange and Unusual from the Colorful Geek. That is a Beetlejuice quote. I got a little bookworm here, Read and Love and Give, from the Bookworm box, which is like an adult romance smexy time box. I got the pigeon from the Strand, because BookTube, Book Expo pigeon, and just Fat Steven from last year. Like, pigeons are a thing in New York that I just associate New York with. I got Luna's little spectacles down here, which I really, really like. The other ones are on my jacket. I got a Science is Real, and I got a Books Are Magic pin. So I spent my time just kind of like shopping and doing fun shit and talking to people, and like the real tea is that it is what you make of it, and it is what you want it to be. If you want it to be social, it's going to be social. If you want to get books, you can get them. They're there for you to get at BEA. BookCon, different beast. I'm not going to stand in a 2-hour line to pick a lollipop that has a color on the bottom that associates with an arc that I may or may not want. And you could also just get one that had no color on the bottom and get a lollipop. I'm not standing 2 hours in line for a dum-dum. Not happening, especially not after BEA. But that's what I ran into at BookCon last year. The books are just not there the same way. There are a ton of booksellers, discounted books, some signed books, some options for signings. But in general, BookCon, you're buying the books. BEA, you are being given those books. So for me, will I do it again? Absolutely. I would love to get approved for the pass for BEA and BookCon again. If I don't get approved for the pass, will I still apply and try to go and pay my way? Sure. And then would I do BookCon again? Yes, but again, just for the social aspect. I don't go to BookCon expecting to get anything out of it other than some time to shop vendors, get FaceTime with vendors, and see people. That's kind of how I treat BookCon. BookCon for me is not the place to try to get books, personally. This tea is so good. And again, it's the organic Kingston Earl Grey. If you're interested in this one, because I do recommend it, you can get 20% off with a code SIPSBY20 at Full Leaf Tea. Check it out. It's really, really good. A big thank you to SipsBy for sending me this box. My code and the link will be listed down below. Super, super good tea. I hope you guys have enjoyed hearing a little bit more of my behind the scenes thoughts about BEA and BookCon. Thoughts that I just couldn't probably articulate while I was actually there because things were just chaotic and crazy. But I think the big takeaway is just self-care. I definitely like mama birded a whole bunch of people while I was there, and I was like, have you eaten? Have you drank? Have you sat down? Because it's a lot. Yeah, I think there's a balance between making the most of it and then also just taking care of yourself. And I think I did a pretty good job of that this year in particular. So I'm very happy with my experience. 10 out of 10 would do it again. And I hope next year to probably get to some more panels. This year, I only made it to one panel. I only went to the BookTube, or the future of the online book community. That's the only panel I went to. And I was definitely interested in others, but books kind of took up precedence over the panels at BEA, and then BookCon just got too hectic. But last year I didn't go to a single panel. This year at least I went to one. So there's that. So that has been my tea for BookCon and BEA. If you have any questions about the event as like a whole that you are curious about that I didn't cover here, definitely leave it down below. I'm happy to help out in any way that I can. And that's been it for this video. If you liked it, be sure to give me a big thumbs up, click subscribe, and I will see all of you in my next video. Bye guys.